I'm proud of a lot of what's going on right now, to be honest.
Nate, I want to start things off because I think in the last week we've seen kind of different changing narratives out there and the way people are reacting and seeing. Are you kind of optimistic the way the last week has gone for this country? I feel like the 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 veil's been lifted for a lot of Americans. They're starting to see things with a little bit more empathetic view.
Yeah, I mean, I think when they see how many people, feel differently about this subject, but the fact that we can still communicate and have conversations and do things in a respectful manner and just listen to one another. I mean, this is something a lot of people have been preaching. I myself have been trying to preach for the last 4 years. Is just listening. It doesn't mean you have to agree, and it doesn't mean you have to even fully be able to relate. But we've got to empathize, in the fact that just because someone has a different opinion and feeling about something, it doesn't mean they're just automatic than I do. That doesn't mean they're just automatically wrong or they're evil or they're trying to destroy the country or whatever the hell the narrative is. It's like it's kind of insane, and I feel like we know better. I mean, we should know better. Um, but I mean, it's a golden rule that we were taught in kindergarten, and
Yeah.
we're not following it, and for the most part, it's frustrating. But I think more and more. I mean, seeing leadership from around the country, whether it's the sports world or the military world, these high-ranking officers that maybe you'd consider and probably have some pretty conservative backgrounds, supporting that freedom of speech and at least like listening, having conversations and saying, all right, if this is done peacefully and it's going to make things better in our nation, it's going to improve policing, it's going to bring us together. Why would we not be for this?
And that's what, 4 years ago, you did the same thing in terms of putting your emotions aside for a second, listening, and then actually getting that bridge of conversation going with Colin Kaepernick. Can you just recap that for people? Because I feel like even though it has been brought up again that, here's the reason why he's kneeling, here's why he decided to kneel, it all stemmed from you listening and then also putting your emotions aside, because at first you weren't down with what he was doing, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, and I'm still not like I don't want people to not stand up when the anthem's played. I mean, I don't want that. I love this country and that song and the flag. They're very special to me. They have a special meaning to me because of my time in the military, and how I do feel like it's it can be a uniting moment. But at the same time, like, and when I first saw it with Colin, when I first saw him sitting on the bench, it just hurt me more than anything because I love this place. I want everyone to feel like they count, like they matter, like they do have that true equality and the same opportunity that I have. And I want them to feel the pride that I feel when the anthem's played. We talked a lot about that with Drew Brees this last week. But when you watch that video, something that's important to also recognize is like those feelings that he has when the anthem is played. That swell of emotion and and sometimes moving to tears. I feel the exact same thing. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean that everybody does, and it doesn't mean they're wrong if they don't. So I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight for and try to help our country get to a place where everybody feels that way. And it's never going to be perfect. There's never going to be a situation where all 350 million Americans agree and feel the same way about something. That's just impossible. We have to get past that, right? But we can all put our differences aside and work together for a better country, for a better union, whatever you want to call it, more perfect union. I mean, this is something that's been embedded in our history for a very long time, and it's conversations, man, and it's supporting those that you don't necessarily agree with. We do a great job of it in the military. I mean, we don't always like each other. There's plenty of people out there in the military community right now that are MFing me so bad, and it's just like, hey, I get it. It's their right. And I understand they don't agree with the way I handle things, and they don't think, that maybe I'm the right guy to be speaking out on stuff, and that's fine. I don't speak for the military community, though. I don't speak for the veteran community. I don't speak for the special forces. I speak for myself, and I think just the fact that I'm more than speaking, but that I'm willing to listen and acknowledge and recognize and try to be a part of positive conversation and change. At least for me, that makes me feel like I'm moving in the right direction.
Nate, were you surprised from Roger Goodell this week and how he's kind of done the 180? And I feel like most of the league, and I don't know if you got to see Bill O'Brien's comments earlier this week, but he had some powerful message for his team and America as well. I feel like the NFL's taken a bigger step here in the last few days.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a 180 because I don't think they were like necessarily against this movement. It's just it's complicated and nuanced in the sense of like, there's a lot of bureaucracy involved. You know what I mean? When you look at it, especially from the NFL standpoint, with all the sponsorships and 32 different teams and and all this stuff going on, and something that needs to change, something that's been the way that it has been since the beginning of the league is like, all ownership, all the owners are white, all of them. And that's the first place in NFL diversity that needs to adjust, because I don't know what the numbers are, but I'm assuming there's a majority of African American players in the league, or at least close to that. Yet, all ownership is still white, and organizationally it's changing. There's more diversity. There's always obviously like a big push to get more coaches, more people in management that are of color, but we still don't have that in ownership. So like, it takes time for these things to happen, and I think, and I know Roger Goodell, he's a great dude, and he supports a lot of incredible causes. He supports the veteran community, and he does a lot. And he tries. His job is not that easy. It's not simple, and he's not perfect. You know what I mean? I don't agree with everything that he's ever said and done. But I think that when they've seen as well, just the groundswell that has occurred over the last 10 days, you know what I mean, or whatever you want to call it, whatever it's been. It's crazy, the amount of people supporting this movement, the amount of people that are out in the streets. And, I don't think being locked up for a couple of months helped the situation. People are going nuts, stuck inside their house. And this was an opportunity to not only be a part of something big and be a part of a movement, but, get the hell outside. So anyway, I think all those things have affected this, and it's good. It's good that they're listening, and I'm not going to fault them that it's because it's taken a bit of time, and but I don't think they were all like against Black Lives Matter or anything like that before this. It was just, it's tough to show that vocal support when it's such a polarizing issue and you're running a big organization such as the NFL.
So in 2016, when it happens, was it frustrating for you in terms of, you told Colin what to do in terms of, hey, look, this is coming from a place of respect. If you're going to do it, then the message gets, it was hijacked almost in terms of, it started blending into, well, hey, he's against the military because he's not standing for the anthem. But then you hear Colin talk about it, and he's saying, look, I'm doing this because of police brutality. Was it frustrating watching from the outside in that the message was being lost back then? And then again, as we mentioned this week, it was as well. But now, people are taking the time to dig a little bit deeper and understand why this is happening. Was it frustrating at the time, though?
Yeah, it's still frustrating, man. We live in a bite-sized world. It's like everything is 10 seconds, and we look at an image and read a headline, and we just make a decision about the whole issue, and we don't read and we don't know. And there's still millions and millions of people that think I reached out to Colin and told him to protest or something. You know what I mean? Like, they just have it so twisted. That's just the world we live in right now, though, and it sucks, man. But I think more people are listening. More people are actually doing some research and reading, and not just being so freaking reactive and emotional to an image. It's just, and that goes for everybody. It's mostly people on the fringes. It's mostly the people on the far right and far left that I've experienced, because it's like, does this image or does this headline support my narrative or not? And if it does, I'll share it everywhere without reading the article and say, look at this, this Green Beret supports, or is protesting, is taking a knee or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? Or the complete opposite. Oh, this guy's a traitor to our country and he hates America because he stood next to Colin. I'm just like, what are you talking about? And it's just we're so binary. kind of disgusting. And I hope more than anything that we can get rid of that. You know, we can move out of that, because until that happens, we're just not going to move forward in general. You know, as a nation, it's going to be really hard to get people that want to wear that police uniform. First of all, that's got to happen. We've got to have the right people in that job. We've got to honor that the difficulty in that job, right? But we also have to fix what's wrong, and we have to like weed out the weeds. Simple as that. And it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of people on board and hard work. It's just not as simple as like these broad strokes of like, oh, all the cops are bad, you know, because if there's a couple that are making a mistake, and you know, not all of them are against it, then they're all evil. And it's dumb. It's broad strokes and generalizations and stereotypes are just, they've got to all go.
Nate, what's the last time you talked to Cap?
Oh, it's been a long time, man. Probably 2 years, something like that. 2.5 years, maybe. You know, I mean, he's got a lot going on. He's got his own thing going, and you know, there's no bad blood or anything like that. We just definitely different paths for sure. You know what I mean? But yeah, solid dude.
Cool. What did it mean for you to see all the protests against racial injustice going on? You know, it wasn't in just one city; it was across so many cities, and the diversity of the protests as well. What did that mean to see this past week for you?
It's been pretty amazing. You know, I mean, I just look at like the aerial images in Philadelphia from, I think that was yesterday. Pretty amazing. You know,
Yeah,
just
it looked like a Super Bowl parade.
It did. At least, yeah, it was nuts. So no, that's been really cool. That's been really, really, really cool. You know, I mean, I'm always weary though too. And this is just me. I'm a pessimist in some ways, and I'm sorry, but that's just who I am. But I know there's a lot of people out there that feel like it's the cool thing to do as well, right? And there's a lot of people doing it out of obligation, you know, and it's just like, oh, now that, you know, now they'll say that they've always stood for this and blah blah blah, and I'm like, I just don't buy it. So for me, I'm proud of the people that have you know, been sort of strong from the beginning and stood up and definitely stayed courageous throughout these last 4 years when they got ridiculed and vilified. You know, and now we're seeing that like shift in a big way. So I'm just like, I'm also cautious because I don't want to see this thing completely shift into this, you know, the flip narrative where it's like, you feel as a white person, you can't speak out on anything, you know what I mean? And you can't have freedom of expression as well. You know, I don't want to live in a world where anybody's got to walk around on eggshells all the time because we're worried about, you know, getting painted a certain way. And I know people of color have had to live that way for a long, long, long time. And, you know, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be fair if white people had to experience that for a while, but that's not the point. Like, I just want to get to a place where like we're able to all freely express respectfully and, you know, and support one another and just make this place better, make it safer. You know, we need police officers, man. We need good ones, and we need a lot more of them to look like the people in those communities, cops that are from those communities. I mean, that's what I want to see more of. That there's no doubt that reform needs to happen, big time. I mean, we've seen countless videos of this stuff, and it's like it's enough to make you sick, you know. And we can't stand for it. We can't stand for it, but we can't just, you know, say F it and expect it to just change without us all being part of that process.
Nate, last thing for you. Do you feel that it is going to change? Because we've had these dialogues before. I don't think it's been recent this much that the country has been at this point. But do you think 6 months, a year from now, we're going to start feeling that change?
Yeah, I think we already are. But absolutely. No, I think absolutely. And it's like, I would imagine after, you know, slavery was abolished. Well, not I would imagine. I know it's not like racism was abolished and everything just ended and everything was just cool. Right. And then when you look at the civil rights movement and it's like, the segregation. Once that sort of ended, it didn't mean everything. It doesn't mean everything's just all of a sudden equal now and fair. And it's like, well, we got past that. See, like you're the same as us now. It's like same with this situation. Like it's going to take time, but this week has been huge. It has been a dramatic shift in a lot of ways, and just to see the amount of support. I think a lot of people thought that the Black Lives Matter movement and just I hate putting labels on this movement because I think it's just an important thing for us to just have equality, to just strive for it anyway. But to see how much support, how many people, at least voicing, and then you see so many in the streets, and I don't want to. I want to. Cut out there. You guys still with me?
Yeah, we're here. You can hear us?
Cool. Yeah, it was weird. I got like feedback from something.
So before we let you go, I know it was the last question, but it would be wrong if we didn't ask you what you're doing with merging vets and players. You and Jay Glazer started this. A lot of cool things going on. Tell us a little bit about the organization.
Yeah, so we bring together combat vets and former professional athletes and help them find purpose and service after the uniform comes off. Some of the greatest leaders in our country, and we're seeing that right now during this time are pro athletes and people from the veteran community. And it's a common struggle through that transition back to civilian life, quote unquote. And granted, I would never compare war to playing a game, but the locker rooms are the same. I can attest to that. And what we go through is the same, and that brotherhood and that identity with the uniform and structure and purpose, all that. So we help each other. We help each other grow. We help each other through that struggle, and but we empower each other. Build each other up, and we're going to open a chapter here in Dallas soon. We've got one in Los Angeles. We've got it in Vegas, and Chicago, New York, and Atlanta. And Seattle's on the horizon. Of course, we want to be in Houston. We want to be in every major sports city, and then beyond that, eventually as well. And we'll train in the gym for about half hour, and then after that, we'll hang out, and it's just peer-to-peer counseling, man. We just talk through stuff. It's an open forum. There's a lot of cursing. It's very much like a locker room. It's very raw and authentic. It's
as it should be.
Not anything corny.
That's awesome. Do you remember the physical test for becoming a Green Beret, like the requirements?
Yeah, of course.
You do? Okay. Drop it. I just want to see if David or I could pass those.
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, drop it.
Tough, man.
Yeah. What were they? Was it like a 2-mile run?
It's 2 years long. No.
No. I'm talking about the
2
actual
mile run.
The physical test that you have to take to.
That's just for the Army.
Just for the Army. What is it?
So just the Army PT test is a 2 mile run, 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups. I think that's it. And you got to hit time standards and number standards for that. You can handle that maybe. But Special Forces training, man, it's another level, dude. It's it's hard. And just to be in the infantry is very, very hard. The amount of miles you got to put on your back with heavy rucksacks, and you got full kit, and you're carrying a weapon, and it's tough. You could do it. If you want to do it, anybody's capable. If you really want it, you just got to be able to, withstand and not quit, and have that type of determination.
I can't believe Raheel just dissed you here on our show, Nate. I apologize.
Nah, you didn't.
Dude, the run. I think I can do the run, but not in boots. See, that's going to be an issue. I'm spoiled. I want the Nikes. Okay.
Right, there you go. Yeah,
hey,
they have Nike boots. They have Nike combat boots.
No way. Nice.
Yep. Comfortable.
Nate, we appreciate your time, man. I know you've been super busy. Thanks so much for making a few minutes for us, and we hope to catch up with you down the road, my friend.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. There you go, Nate Boyer.